Hey there, gang. Let's welcome you to another lecture we're having here today. I hope you guys are really liking this stuff. It sure seems so. I think it just makes a lot of sense to you. And today we're going to actually be moving right into photosynthesis. And I'm going to explain what this all means in a minute. So, this is just a quick review on what you guys know so far. Energy, of course, is the ability to do work. Many of you guys have learned this formal definition over the past week, and I think that it's really started to stick. Any kind of force that you exert outside of your body or that any other either a machine or any other tool might exert, it all is work, and we need energy to do this. And that energy that I'm talking about, it's actually stored, as you should know, right here in these phosphate bonds. You guys should all recall that this is the base and there's no energy here. Okay, so we just have energy in those phosphate groups. The more phosphate groups we have, the more energy that's stored. Okay, the other thing that you guys learned about was about these two types of animals called either heterotrophs or autotrophs. All right, heterotrophs, these are us. Right, we are heterotrophs, okay? Because we're not able to produce our own energy, right? We need to eat food. Can't just sit out in the sun and all of a sudden feel full, even though that's incredibly cool, right? Autotrophs, on the other hand, are able to produce their own food. Okay? The only caveat is that in order for them to do this, they need sunlight. Okay? They cannot feed themselves in the darkness. So I guess what I'm saying is an autotroph really isn't a very good movie date, all right? So we're really going to start focusing on this autotroph group now, okay? Because it's autotrophs that undergo photosynthesis to get this energy, to make this food. And it all starts with light. A term that I want you guys to know is electromagnetic radiation. And really all it is this fancy term that refers to the many different types of energy around us. Now, if you guys look at this great spectrum we have here, okay, this is showing us all the different types of electromagnetic radiation that there are. So this goes from things like gamma rays to things like X-rays that you guys know to UV rays. This is what gives you a sunburn. Those UV rays, okay, that's why we wear sunblock. Then you have infrared rays, and this goes all the way to things such as TV and radio waves, okay? But what we're focusing on is this small segment right here, which is known as visible light, okay? This is what we're going to be putting our focus into for this unit at least. What all of these different types of energy actually have in common, though, is that they're in the form of a wave. And while we're not personally going to go into more of this, at least in this unit, there's going to be more on this to come down the line, whether it's in biology or in chemistry. Because understanding the fact that energy has a wave component to it is very, very fascinating. And like I just said, for the purpose of this class, we're just going to be focusing on the visible light portion. Okay? And this consists of Roy G. Biv. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Okay? That's the color spectrum that you guys see right here. All right? Now, why is any of this important? Well, it's because the light that we see isn't actually the color it is. What do I mean by that? Well, you guys might look up at a lamp and you might say the light coming from this is white, right? But that's really not the case. White light has all of the visible colors in it. That means white light contains red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Interesting, right? And the color that we see an object to be is actually the light that it reflects. Okay, and as you guys know, the word reflects, think of it as meaning bounces off. Okay, so the light that bounces off the object is actually the color that we see. Whereas the colors that we don't see an object as, okay, these are the colors that an object absorbs. All of this will hopefully make sense in 1 minute once I use the pictures on our left to explain this, okay? But this might make a lot of sense to you. What I want you to think of is when you're out in the sun, right? If you wear something that's black, you're usually very warm, okay? And this is because black objects, they actually absorb all colors of light and reflect none. Okay, now just the opposite actually occurs for white objects. Okay, white objects actually absorb no color, all right? They reflect everything. And this is why you're cooler in the sun wearing white. Now, this is kind of quick going over it. I understand that, but I think it's going to be better represented talking about these objects. So here I have this tennis ball, okay? And if we look on our right-hand side, we say the color that we consider an object to be is the light that it reflects. Okay, well, I consider this tennis ball to be both yellow and green. Okay, so I'm going to say that these are the colors that is reflected by this tennis ball. Now, the color of light that's absorbed is going to be red. I don't see any of that. I don't see any orange. I don't see any blue. And I sure don't see any indigo or violet. Okay? So, the colors reflected are the colors we see. The colors absorbed, everything else. All right, now what about this couch? So we got a great couch here, and it looks to me that this couch is mostly blue. Blue, maybe with a little, I would just say blue, okay? So the colors that we don't see, right off the bat, we can say there's no red, there's definitely no yellow, there's surely no orange, and there's definitely no green. Okay? Now, you could say that there could be a little bit of violet absorbed there or whatnot, but again, with it being blue and it being close, it's difficult to say. So, the color reflected, what I see is blue. Everything else is the red, yellow, orange, and green that's absorbed by this color of the couch. What does this have to do with autotrophs, right? What is my main point here? Well, my main point is that autotrophs have a pigment, okay? A pigment, or think of this as a color, okay? Inside of them called chlorophyll. This is many autotrophs that have this, okay? And chlorophyll is the color green. And sometimes can be a little bit yellow, all right? What chlorophyll is able to do is that it's able to capture energy from the sun, and it can transform it into sugar. Okay, think of this as food. So if we're looking at this diagram here, notice that on the left side, I have absorption, okay? And on the bottom here, I have all of the different colors, all right? Now, photosynthetic pigments, this is simply referring to chlorophyll, which I just told you is green. Now, if I see it as green, that means that that's the color reflected. And that means that chlorophyll is absorbing, right? Green is reflected. And colors like red, blue, and violet are absorbed, right? Because I don't see them. So if we were to look at a graph of this, okay, we would see that the estimated absorption for this, right, it would absorb this violet, it would absorb this blue, but it's not going to absorb any of this green or yellow. Okay, then it's going to absorb some of that orange, and it's going to absorb some of that red as well. All right, so if we were to look at this graph, you guys can see that right here, okay, this is showing you that green, yellow are reflected because there's no peak saying that it's absorbed. All right. Now, back to the notes. So the sugar, right, that this plant is making, you have sunlight that is allowing the chlorophyll to absorb energy. It's allowing the plant to make sugar, and the sugar can be used by the autotroph, right, the plant in this case, for food, as well as any heterotrophs, right, the animals that might eat it. So if you guys think about when you go to eat something such as broccoli, right? Well, broccoli has tons of energy in it because the broccoli plant will actually use that sugar to grow. Now we cut that broccoli plant up, we cook it, and we eat it to get energy ourselves. So it's kind of a system that works both ways, that these autotrophs aren't just getting energy for them, but they're also making energy for all sorts of other organisms. And please, if you have any questions on this graph, just ask, okay? It makes a lot of sense, and it's something that's going to be very important for you going forward. But for right now, just fill out this vocab and move on to group work. Thanks, guys.